What is up, y'all? My name is Osmin Constanza, and
David Tasueta.
this is the Making It Work podcast.
Yes, sir. Making it work.
Making it work. So some of y'all are new. I mean, all of you are new.
This is the first one.
So let's just give y'all some vision as to like what this podcast is to us and what the Lord just wants to do through it.
Yeah. So the purpose of the podcast is essentially what the name implies, making it work. I feel like as young Christians, young believers in the faith, oftentimes we are brought into situations, conversations that maybe we may not feel equipped to follow with or answer. But in reality, like as young people, young adults moving into adulthood, all we're really trying to do is make it work. And as young people, I feel like one thing, the biggest thing is our faith. And we're just trying to make it work. We just want to do the best we can. We just want to follow Jesus the best we can. And a lot of times what that looks like for myself is like maybe I don't want to listen to content from a mega church or a pastor. A lot of times I just want to know that I'm not alone in this walk, and there are other believers like you and me who have questions, and it's okay to have questions. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I feel like the purpose of this podcast, we're just going to be bringing up topics, lighthearted conversations, but with hard-hitting points, and honestly just try to bring a light to conversations that maybe we don't hear on a Sunday. You know what I'm saying? So,
and even just bouncing off of that, I feel like a lot of us feel like our faith and conversations within the church are limited to the big topics that they speak on. And don't get me wrong, we're going to speak on some of those topics. We're going to speak about faith. We're going to speak about some of these things. But also we need to understand that in our walk, if we are like fully in, then that the Lord is also in the mundane. And even as we invite him into our lives, we say, Lord, like you're in fully. And if he's fully into it, then we're also inviting him into the small ones, the small conversations, the little thing that you may be dealing with or that I've dealt with that we felt like maybe we shouldn't have spoken of within a group or something. And saying, hey, Lord, you can move in that as well. You've put people in my life that can speak life into that and just literally speak your word into it. So our heart is literally to speak on topics that are big and also topics that are small.
Because I feel like a lot of times we think like, oh, a miracle looks like a healing or it'll be some crazy thing. A lot of times when I'm driving in the parking lot, I'm praying for a spot to open close to the door. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like God's in that. He cares about every single part of you. So yeah, man, we're just trying to make it work. This faith thing, this church thing, this Christian thing, whatever you want to call it, like we're just wanting to make it work, and we want to know Jesus better through conversation.
And one of the things that we really wanted to speak on is something that the church loves to speak on constantly, and that is loving, right? But we're going to speak today on loving in all atmospheres. Right? And I think it's so important to touch on these topics. What does that look like? What does it mean to love in all atmospheres, you know? And what does it mean to hate? And I feel like Jesus is so good at addressing this. In Matthew 5, right? He says, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry at a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Raka, is answerable to the court. And anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. I love the way I said you fool. It sounded dope.
That was sick.
You fool, you know?
You fool.
But I think one question that brought up to us was, hey, like, what is Raka? You know? And
Shaka bra.
And I think even when we look at the definition, let me just pop this up for you guys to get it more specific, but it says the word Raka is original to the Greek manuscript. However, it is not a Greek word. The most common view is that the reference to the Aramaic word Reka, which literally means empty one, will probably mean empty-headed or foolish. Scholars seem divided on how grievous an insult it was. But I think even when we look at this word Raka, like empty-headed, bro, like you're calling this man clueless, like you're calling him worthless, like you're calling him a lot of different things. And loving in all atmospheres is literally taking those moments where we said Raka or the heart behind Raka to people and saying, hey, I choose to love you. And
Yeah.
let's just speak on the different kind of atmospheres.
Yeah, I think it's so important to recognize that our walk with Christ doesn't stop when we leave the church
Yeah.
or when we're in group. Like that love, we take it everywhere we go,
Yeah.
right? It's literally like if without love, our praise just sounds like a resounding cymbal to the Lord's ears. So I think environments or atmospheres where we have to love, where maybe we're not comfortable loving, a lot of times it's gonna be at work, it's gonna be at school, it's gonna be in the store. Like it's hard to really enter a place and be like, okay, I'm now choosing to love
Yeah.
because God said to.
Yeah.
So
And even just bouncing off of that, like choosing to love in the places where it's hard.
yeah.
Like choosing, because like even like the word says in Matthew 5, I think it was like 45 or something like that, 46. But like Jesus is literally speaking on like how easy it is for us to love people that already love us, right?
Yeah.
And like he says that even the corrupt tax collectors do that much, is what he's saying. And I think when we go to these atmospheres, it's important to love in everyone that is there.
Yeah.
And whether that is literally in school, and that one person that like to take us off,
Yeah.
where we were like, man, you suck, bro. And you just want to call them empty-headed, or like
Yeah.
speak on their name. It's in those moments where we say, hey, you know what, like, though I am frustrated at you or though I'm angry at you, I do not want to respond that way. And I want to
Yeah.
choose to love, whether that is there or even when you're at home and your parents are being so extra sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're like, bruh.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's really hard is learning that we're called to love even when it doesn't benefit us.
Yeah.
So you said something really important. When we love, it's even those people, the guy who's just always saying the really bad jokes, and you're just like, oh my god, like it's the girl who's always gossiping, talking about your name, and
Yeah.
and it's something that maybe I'm guilty of, but I think definitely loving when it doesn't benefit us shows the fruit of what God is trying to do and
Yeah.
what he's doing with us. Because I mean, nobody comes into this world loving everybody. It's a choice.
Yeah.
It's an active conscious choice we make.
It is. And man, like even in all the atmospheres when we constantly have to choose to do it, it gets hard.
Yeah.
Man, like I've already spoken on like in school or at home, but let me tell you, even in the church, bro.
Ooh.
Like even in the church, we have people, or sometimes we are the people that is so hard to love.
Yeah.
And I just go back to like David, man. Like David
Me?
chose to King David, sorry. King David chose to honor the Lord and just love him by being obedient to what he was saying. Because David had Jonathan, but he also had Saul. Like he chose to honor the Lord
Yeah.
and love in a weird way. Now let me explain. King David had the ability to kill Saul. Someone that was after this man. Like, bruh, I could not imagine. Like, I would have probably, done it. I'm not gonna lie. That's just, But he chose not to, because it was who the Lord put there at the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes loving people requires weird approaches. And I think we limit loving to be like, hey, David, you're so awesome, bro. I love you, bro.
Yeah.
You're doing amazing. When in reality, sometimes it's like, hey, David, I love you. But hey, like the way this dynamic works, I'm going to choose to love you.
But I'm breaking up with you.
Nah, but it's like, I'm going to choose to love you in a different way. And maybe
Yeah.
that requires distance.
Yeah.
And it's so good to understand that loving people doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna be like, hey man, you're so amazing, you're this and that.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay to be like, yo, bro, like you are
Yeah.
doing great things, and to lift them up. Yes, that is good. But I think when it means like I'm gonna hang out with you because I love you, like
Yeah.
no. Sometimes loving people means that you're setting a boundary.
Yeah.
Because
It's
like,
a limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're limiting. I think that's good because we a lot of times want to love the way we think people need love.
Yeah.
Or the way we know how to give love.
Mm-hmm.
But loving is also being able to love how someone reciprocates love, how
Yeah.
they want to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how you said boundaries or limits is also loving. So when you think of like when you're going up a steep mountain, you're going up to Mount Lemon or whatever,
Yeah.
and you see those rails that stop you from, falling off.
Yeah.
My dad used to always say like stop signs and things like that. Those are limits of love that
Wow.
that the city puts, in place to be like, we don't want you to die. We don't want you to kill others. And I think it's okay in relationships to have limits of love because, hey, you and I, when we get together, man, the conversation's great. But if I hang out with somebody else, that conversation could lead to something else, something toxic, something, ungodly.
Yeah.
And a lot of times me loving them, but also loving myself is saying, hey, you're my brother in Christ, but I know this is where our relationship has to take a cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And bro, like, it's so good to acknowledge that because sometimes it sucks, bro.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to look at someone and say, hey, I love you, but man, it's just not good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not fruitful right now.
Yeah.
And it's not from a place where it's transactional, but it's from a place where, like, hey, like, if I'm causing you to stumble or you're causing me to stumble, I think the best course of action is to set up that boundary.
Yeah.
And you love people by setting them, but you also love people by honoring them as well.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody is like, hey, I don't receive love that way, who are we to get mad or frustrated at them? I think one great example is, like, I have this friend who isn't really much of a hugger. Like, he hugs other people, but there was one day where I walked up to him and I just wanted to hug him. I literally went for it and he was like this. And I got a little bit upset. I was like, man, in my heart I was like, man, I'm kind of bummed out that this person didn't receive it.
Uh-huh.
And that was my form of showing love. But this person didn't receive it that way, and I just had to learn to honor that. I had to learn to be like, hey man, like, I'm gonna love you, and the best way that you will receive it is not through a hug, but through X, Y, and Z. So I just need to honor that boundary of not going for the hug and love you in another way. And I think that's part of loving, acknowledging them as a person, being intentional, and saying, hey, I'm gonna honor your boundaries, and I'm gonna love you in the way that you receive it best, and not be offended if you have a boundary, because I know that it would be the same in the other,
right,
vice versa.
I give love by punching and kicking and
crazy.
Yeah.
So imagine if I was like, yo, bro, I don't want to KO a week, bro. This is my third concussion. Who's David? Would be like, yo, bro.
Yeah.
Who cares? Bam. I got a 4-course meal. I'm gonna give you a knuckle sandwich, a 2-piece no biscuit. You want something to drink? I'll give you some punch. This man could easily hit me with all that. But
man.
I know that David will choose to honor the boundary.
Oh man.
And man, I think sometimes it's hard.
Yeah. And I think also, didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good, bro. That hurt me, bro. You didn't love me right there.
I'm
kidding.
sorry. No, but one thing too is like when to be loving in all atmospheres is an atmosphere is set, right?
Yeah.
It's set by who's there, and I think it's important to learn that we're called to be a thermostat and not a thermometer.
Wow.
Right. So a thermostat sets the temperature, and a thermometer will just tell you what the temperature's at.
Yeah.
So when we step into a spot and we acknowledge like, okay, this is a family setting where not everybody's a believer, or to the extent that I am, will I engage in said activity, conversations, or will I be the thermostat and set the stage for the conversations that are going to be had, for the relationships that we're going to create? And I think that's also important because it's also harder, and I've said this before, it's harder for a light to be seen when it's fully dark, right? So if all the lights were off and I just had one light on, you could tell. But if all the lights were on, there's just light. There's just a mass of light. Mm-hmm. So it's harder to be a light when you're surrounded by darkness. You can be a light, in the context of like, it's easy to be a Christian when you're at church, when you're surrounded by other like-minded people who believe in the same thing.
Yeah.
But when you're in a situation or in an atmosphere or in a conversation where you're the odd man out, that's when it's toughest, right?
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going with, but yeah.
No, it is definitely the toughest. And I think a great example of that is like when I started working at this car dealership, which is where I'm still working right now. On my first day, I had a friend that got me the job. So on my first day, I remember just going, and I don't think he was there that day. He was not there that day. But I remember walking up to one of the coworkers, and I was like, "Hey, what's up, man?" He was like, "What's up, dude?" And then I, just greeted everyone else like normally, like how I just said.
Mm-hmm.
But then I walked up to a specific coworker, and I was like, "Yo, what up, dog?" And then he was like,
Dog.
"Yo, what it do?" He said, "Yo, what it do?" He's like a little funny dude. He's like, "Yo, what it do?" And I was like, dope. And then I was like, "Yo, this is awesome. I'm gonna love these people easily." And then he hits me with, "Yo, are you blank's friend? Does that mean you're also whack AF?" And I was like,
damn, I can't believe he said AF.
Bro, he did not say that. But you know what I mean. He literally said that.
What does it mean?
I'm
just kidding.
American
fighters.
Yeah. So basically, this man said that, and I was so mad. I didn't show it from the outside at first, but I was mad. And granted, like I said, it was the first day.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too comfortable with everyone. So I waited 40 minutes until I became comfortable with everyone. And then I literally walked up to one of them. I was like, "Man, who does this man think he is? He was talking smack. I'm gonna square up." And I'm
gonna square up.
I told him, I was like, "I'm gonna square up."
Oh man.
And then, it was at work when I still texted my friend. So I was still at work.
Yeah.
And I texted my friend. I was like, "Yo, like, who does this man think he is?" I forgot. I was so mad that I literally just went for the text. I gotta even wait till I get home. But that's how mad I was.
It's crazy.
So then, he's like, "Yo, that's just him." And I literally just walk up to him. And I'm like, "Yo, bro, you suck." And then, literally, I don't know if he got mad or something. Whatever. He didn't seem like phased or anything. But I just remember then going back the next day. And then he introduces us, and I'm like, "Yeah, we have met." And then he was like, "I'm just joking, right?" And then I was like, "Oh." It's like, dang. I thought my friend was just covering him, but he was actually joking.
Yeah.
So I was still kind of hurt, and I felt guilty at this point. So I walk up to this guy, and I'm like, "Yo, dude." I said, "What you said yesterday, it kind of sucked." I said, and yo, my bad if I overreacted or anything like that. I was just responding in the worst way that I could. And
did you fight him?
No, dude. So I found out this man was in karate. So, bro, good thing I didn't press this man. He would have folded me like a lawn chair. So,
oh man.
Now we get to this point
That's
to
so
where
funny.
we literally come to a place of reconciliation, and you know what the awesome part is for me speaking to this person. Man, it was such a vulnerable moment. Now let me explain. This man was a complete clown. He's like me, but he's like a clown that's also kind of a tough guy.
Right.
But like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the clown tough guy type.
Like, how are you gonna approach the clown tough guy? So when I approached him, I was being vulnerable because he could either like flip out and make fun of me, or he could make fun of me as a joking way, and it's like a little
and then
more
beat you
offensive.
up.
Yeah, bro. Like, I don't know. Either way, we get beat up.
Straight karate chop.
So I come to this point where I'm vulnerable, and I choose to love him by apologizing. I choose to love him by coming to a place of humbleness and saying, "Hey, man, that really hurt. Let's come to reconciliation. Let's fix this.
Yeah.
Let's get to a place to where our relationship is healthy again."
Yep.
And I think, like you said earlier, there are some people that are hard to love.
Yeah.
And it requires the choice to do it because it's a choice.
And a lot of times we think, or the hardest people to love we find in the church. A lot of times you don't have to go very far.
Yeah.
You don't have to go very far to find someone who will push your buttons and take you off. But I think that's so important. What you were saying, to not overreact, to get the whole story, because a lot of times, like, you don't know what type of mechanism that is for someone to be a clown or to roast.
Wow.
Or you don't know, like, man, maybe they don't receive affection somewhere else, so they try to come off a certain way. And that was my final point I had here, is that we're called to love all. Like, the Lord calls us to love everybody. It doesn't matter who they are, it doesn't matter where they come from, what they look like, what the relationship is, the situation, is that you cannot effectively be a follower of Christ if you don't love everyone.
Oof.
If you have beef with someone, if you haven't resolved an issue, if you still have that heart issue, because that's what it is essentially. And I'm not saying you gotta be besties with everyone, and everybody you gotta, take out for a coffee or whatever. Like, no, like, there's, like we talked about, boundaries. There's healthy boundaries, but you can still effectively love someone. Like me, for example. I'm gonna give an example. I'm gonna put myself on the spotlight. I don't follow everyone I meet on social media, cause I'm like, I don't really care to see you, like, on my cell phone. Like I'll love you in person or I don't know, but like, yo, like, for me it's like, no, this is like a personal thing. Like, I'll follow whoever I feel like I want to follow, and people get hurt by it. I literally had someone who came up to me, like, it was a girl. She was like, you don't even follow me on Instagram. I'm like, we're friends in real life, or like, I know you in real life. Why do I need to follow you? Because we're friends. I'm like, yeah, but like, you post things I don't want to look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can still love that person.
Yeah.
And effectively show them the love of Christ. But I mean, it also depends on who it is or what. I still don't follow Osmin. It was actually Osmin I'm talking about. I don't follow him.
That's crazy, huh?
That's crazy, dude. Hey, follow me back.
For real.
I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, man. Like a lot of times, like, you don't have to go very far to find someone. That you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And to still love them, like, yo, that's the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the part that God is saying, is that you have to have love,
Yeah.
Definitely. And love everyone.
And like, sometimes it's not that we don't love someone that we don't like. Sometimes it's literally loving someone that doesn't like us.
Oof.
Bro, like, Jesus on his last day washed the feet of the disciples.
Yeah.
You know who was there, bro?
Judas.
The homie Judas. Well, not really homie, I'll tell you that. But this man was there, and Jesus still loved him. Like, he was still faithfully doing that.
Yeah.
And, man, like, it's not that Judas didn't like Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Or anything like that. But it's like, man, if Jesus loved the person that even betrayed him, bro, that brought him to, like, this pain, like, to this, like, point where, like, there was just so much bad that, like, to our eyes was there, like, to our physical eyes was there. Man, like, how much more can we love the person that says you suck?
Right.
Like,
that's crazy.
And it's just insane to think about. Hey, man, like, I'm a person that, like, loves people.
Loves love.
And if they don't love me, bro,
Osmin's
I'm
a
like,
simp.
bro.
Osmin's a simp.
Bro, literally, like, I'm a simp for people. I don't know if that's the correct term.
I'm a simp for Jesus.
But, like, if someone doesn't like me back, bro, like, it's not that it ruins my day or anything. It just kind of hurts.
Yeah.
But the Lord still calls us to love people then.
For
like,
sure.
Because if we love only people that loved us, like, even the corrupt tax collectors do that.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important point to say, is that he says even the corrupt tax collectors can love those who love them.
Yeah.
Like, what you're doing is not that special. Loving
what we're doing.
Yeah,
what we're doing.
That's nothing special. That's easy. That's easy. But it's going up to the person who again and again does you dirty, and to still want to be in, not necessarily relationship, but to be like, yo, you're my brother in Christ. I honor you. I respect you. I love you, ultimately. And that's the hard part, because this is easy. This takes no effort.
Yeah.
right? When you connect with someone who's a genuine friend. But to be with those who don't believe the same as you, who may, like, completely ignore your faith and what you have to say. And that's something that is important, because as young adults, we're always in situations where we're the odd man out. You know what I'm saying? Unless we're in church or whatever. But, like, usually we'll be the center. And I think one thing is that we can't stop being the light because we don't see any reciprocation, right? But one thing that I found is that, when those people are in need, or they'll come to you. I've had people text me and be like, "Hey, bro," like, that have nothing to do with church or Jesus or whatever. They'll be like, "Hey, man, I'm going through this. Like, could you pray for me?"
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dang, like, my life is becoming a representation of Jesus. And when people think and know and acknowledge, like, I need Jesus, they'll be like, I know who to talk to. I know who to call. And then that is why it's important to love in every atmosphere. Because people see that. They notice. And not only that, but, like, it's God sees your heart.
He does.
He sees it, and he acknowledges it, and he honors it. For sure.
It's so good, man. Yeah. Just really quickly, like, even going back to my friend from work, like, this man was intense on the first day, but because we came to that point of reconciliation, we came to that point where, like, I chose to love him. And, like, even on day one, like, half of the day,
Yeah.
Months later, this man came up to me and spoke to me about his dreams. He spoke to me about what he wanted to do and how that wasn't reflected at the time, but he wanted change in that. And he didn't necessarily say, I want a relationship with the Lord, but I definitely saw him walking towards a brighter light.
Right.
Because he recognized that he was in an area that was, like, sadness, oppression, depression, and things like that.
Yeah.
But he knew that he wanted to go in a brighter path.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, even you said it, like, if you are living with integrity, like the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, they'll notice that you're firm in what you believe and that you're firm in your love, so they'll come to you in those hard moments, just as you said. And that's the importance of loving in all atmospheres. The fact that you're showing integrity, the fact that you're so rooted in it, and you always, so that they can approach you always. They can come to you and speak about Jesus always. And that person that was speaking on you, on your name, disrespecting you like that, bro.
On my name.
They know who to go to because you're firm in it, because you love them even when they felt like they didn't deserve it.
And being that person who's willing to pray. I've had times where I'll be at school, and, like, I had a friend, and he would be like, he asked me once, and he never asked me again, because he was like, hey, can you pray for me, this and that? I was like, yeah, man. Father God. He's like, oh, right now? I was like, well, I might forget later. So it's like, like, our willingness to love, to pray, to be that person for people. It's so important. Yeah. It's so important because I could have waited and gone home and, like, prayed for him, but then he'd be like, well, did he really pray? Yeah. Did he really? You know what I'm saying? And it's like in a school hallway with a bunch of teenagers who only care about image and still trying to find their identity. But I was like, yo, dude, if you need prayer now, that's like, I was like a doctor. We need that prayer stacked. Come on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, yeah, man, I think that's so important. I think that's so good to love in every atmosphere, to love in every situation, to love those who don't love us, which is the toughest. Yeah. Because, you can love someone who you can love someone who loves you, but maybe you don't like them. I feel like that's a big difference too. Yeah. Like, I can love you, but maybe I don't like you. Is that a Christian thing to say? Is that anti?
I don't know.
Leave it in the comments.
Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know. I feel like those are two different things, but that could be a different topic.
Like I said, you can love people.
Or like we said, you have to be in relationship with them. Yeah. Right? I feel like that's the difference.
And I love that you just spoke on prayer and, like, how you quickly went for it. Mm-hmm. Because some people, like, even at one point how we needed it, and even at one point how we'll need it at some point as well. Yeah. Because, I've been there, and I deal with it sometimes. Sometimes we need to be urgent with the way we love, because you don't know when they're going to need it or how bad they need a glimpse of Jesus in the flesh. Because, bro, and I love Pastor Wheeling because he says this often. He says, casual approaches leads to casualties. And I think we just, good. When it comes to loving, bro, like we cannot be casual with this. We need to be as intentional as we can with them. And sometimes that means shutting up, not saying a thing, saying, hey, I could say this word that's offensive. I could hit you with the raka, but I choose not to.
Yeah.
And
we're making t-shirts, hit you with the raka at
No, but that, definitely, guys, that's something we really felt like we wanted to speak about. And that's something that's important in our lives, in our day-to-day lives, because loving is hard sometimes. But we're going straight to audio. Loving is hard sometimes. I know there's that Rex song where he said loving is easy, but let me tell you, loving is easy. Yeah, loving loving is hard sometimes. Yeah. Especially when it's people that are difficult. But let me say, man, the more that you just begin to walk with the Lord, the more he just begins to show you what love is, because he is love. And he begins to show you how to be a reflection of him. And if he's love, we can reflect that love in that. And we know, hey, we follow Jesus. And the best way we show it is how we love each other. Yeah. So I just want to encourage you all, like, if you're dealing with anything difficult along those lines, hey, we've been there and we struggle with it sometimes, and we will struggle with it sometimes in the future as well, because it's not something that's super easy to do. But let me just encourage you all, like, hey, continue to just follow Jesus. Invite him into the mundane, and he'll teach you to love in all atmospheres. Yeah, that's so good. Yo, we really hope you guys enjoyed listening to our first podcast of the Making It Work podcast. Yo, if you like this, please make sure to subscribe, leave a comment. We want to know what you guys want to hear. Leave down some more prompts, stuff that you guys actually want us to talk about. So yeah, we love y'all. Take it easy. God bless.